welcome back to the HGC as we get into the Mid-Season Brawl final series of the day. Day number 4. We've had a rambunctious and crazy day. I just thought I'd throw in the word rambunctious here as we do continue things on. It's going to be Dignitas going up against RED Canids. I am joined to my left by Trixler J. Howard Fan. And overall, RED Canids now have not only a mountain to climb, but what feels like the Olympus Mons to climb here when it comes to some good old Mars references. Not sure what I'm talking about. It's a really big mountain, if you don't know.
With snow on top of it, it's very difficult to climb and trudge through. Have you ever climbed a mountain with snow on it, or even a hill?
I'm talking about Olympus Mons on Mars.
Oh. Still a mountain. It could have snow on it.
It's a really big
future.
mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point
Terraforming.
is
yeah.
very difficult. They're in a spot where they're looking for their first victory, and they are against a Dignitas. That's probably a little bit on the upset side. That victory from Tempo Storm really kind of threw them for a loop. Afterwards we walked out and I was like, hey, how's it going, guys? And like, wow, that happened. So they're more prepared for this next matchup and want to get ready for the match against RED Canids.
You got to wonder how RED Canids is feeling as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they just had a very tough series against Soul Torture. So, I don't know. One of these teams, I think that they definitely are going to have to get on that space shuttle, go to another planet, suit up, climb a mountain.
With
it's
snow?
pretty tough. With snow,
Please don't forget that.
It's pretty tough. So maybe you need somebody that has a Martian skin.
No, don't trigger him.
He was talking about right before we came on.
I'm moving away from you guys. One thing that's important here is that RED Canids in that game number 1 against Soul Torturers did have a good game, and they looked like they had the potential to be able to take that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they keep doing it. You know, they're so close to taking a game. You gotta imagine it's gonna happen eventually. And well, now's a good time to start.
Yes. Especially with Dignitas having, Bakery tweeted out just before, after coming off the back of that loss against Tempo Storm, sometimes they do struggle, they feel with consistency issues. I mean, you defeat L5 one day and then you drop a map to Tempo Storm another day. I'm not saying that Tempo Storm is by any means completely inferior, but the point is there are two big different power levels between those teams right now, very visibly to the entire panel. So. Can Dignitas keep their composure and just be able to take the result that we expect them to?
Yeah, that's the one thing that many people have talked about the last few days is what level do they rise to here?
Right.
And I don't mean this in like a mean way, but do they fall to the level of what the RED Canids have here, right? Do they allow RED Canids to play their game, introduce chaos, and throw Dignitas for a loop? That's really the question. And it is, at the end of the day, we've had a long day overall. There are endless possibilities that could happen in this last series.
Well, let's focus on Dignitas here, Jay Howe, as we get into things, of course, as we do have Mene there doing his best chilling out French impression that he possibly can. And overall, what stands out for you for Team Dignitas?
Well, it kind of furthers the point that Trixler was just talking about. So there's a lot of familiarity within your region. So EU will obviously play EU tougher. But there is this thing to where Dignitas somehow plays these long games. And it's almost like, I don't want to say they play down to their opponent, but it seems like certain teams that they should do well against sometimes will draft compositions to where it kind of just makes things difficult, right? There's certain teams that can do that to you. And I wonder if RED Canids can bring Dignitas down just through the draft in something like that.
Do you think there's a moment where, hello Bakery, do you think there's a moment where Dignitas kind of has a bit of a slip up in the draft? Is that something that could kind of stunt them here, or do you think that they come into this series all serious and all business?
I think they will come in all business. I think this match actually really matters for them because their group, unlike the other one, they have China, E-Star, topping the charts in their group.
Right.
So everyone in their group is like one rank lower than everyone in the other group. So this match matters. If they start dropping games here, they could potentially be pushed down to 3rd seed. If they drop both, they could potentially even be pushed down further. So they're going to definitely be giving it their all.
Right. I mean, by my recollection right now, I think E-Star has 10 points. We have Dignitas with 7 points. Likewise, L5 with 7 points. So Dignitas really needs to get themselves some points on the board, try and propel themselves forwards, because if they do get themselves at least 3 points, they could be, in tying position here with E-Star, which would be a great little boost for them going into this group to potentially force tiebreakers down the line, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see which battleground we'll be going to. Could it be something that finally we see Red Canids pull out a strategy that most would consider cheese. You know, put it all on the table and really try to confuse Bakery and Crew just slightly enough to even make it a 1-1. Even doing that is great for them, but also knocks Dignitas down a little bit.
All right, well, let's take a look at Red Canids once again here, as we did just a few moments ago, but there is Jay Schritte to start off our rundown of the team. And they're a lively bunch. They're an exciting bunch.
This is worrying to me, though. Well, it could be great or it could be bad here. Either A, they are super focused on this game.
Right.
Or they're down on themselves.
A little.
Which, latter is a bit fearful for me, but being more focused could be good for them. Because every time we've seen Jay Schritte on camera, he's been all smiles, all giggles, has some kind of form of goofy interaction with us, and that was him just staring at his monitor. Tyfix as well. This has been the same thing for the last 10 minutes since that game ended, and I hope they're just not beating up on themselves, because that will make it harder for them to beat Dignitas.
For what it's worth, I mean, think about the Tomb game they had the other day. With the variant combo, they gave L5 all they could handle. And they do look a little bit dejected right now. I hope that that's just their pregame face, that, you know, once the game gets started, the familiarity will come back between that mouse and keyboard. But right now, you got to wonder if that last series might affect them coming into this game.
I mean, looking at you, like, you've been in these scenarios before. What do you do as a player to, like, get yourself back in a level-headed state?
For me personally, I think it's a little bit different. I'm pretty good at not tilting from losses. You know, the tournament's not over until your core falls for the last time. So for me, it's just, if you lose a game, you just got to focus on how to win the next ones. If you're down in a game, you just got to focus on the next steps to come back in the game. So hopefully they just hone their minds in on what they need to do to win.
All right, let's take a look at where we're going to be playing these two games as their maps fly on in from the left-hand side. It will be Sky Temple and then Infernal Shrines, with the bands going over to Warhead Junction and Cursed Hollow. So we start things on Sky Temple. It's not the most common map that we get to see here during the tournament so far. It's in there, interspersed once or twice, a few times. But it's definitely one that Red Canids has to kind of grasp with both hands here, because if not, Dignitas is pretty good at being able to play the global game. Abathur could be a factor. What do you think?
They have to outperform themselves in this battleground in particular. This is a battleground that the top three in EU are very effective at. They understand how to end it, how to get a lead, and keep up with it. And then we're going to Infernal Shrines afterwards, which Red Canids thinks is one of their favorite battlegrounds, but it's great for EU too.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 1, draft has begun. Red Canids going up against Team Dignitas. Final series of the day here, day number 4, Mid-Season Brawl.
Yeah, I can definitely understand why Team Dignitas here has picked Sky Temple. Last time they played it, it was the 6-minute game where they just kind of ended the game before the other team ever got level 10 with that Illidan. So that's got to be something that, you know, you can rely on.
It's definitely something you got to keep in the back of your mind. We thought, oh, we haven't seen a whole lot of Sky Temple. It's because we didn't get to see a lot of the map because it was so quick.
True.
But Red Canids, obviously, with a top-tier ban here on the side. With the new Barak, obviously, we've seen what he can do, you know, a lot throughout the day. Dignitas, they've had a lot of Red Canids games to watch, including the previous one. So they might have their own certain draft strategy coming in. You got to think Uther's at the top of the priority list when it comes to bans. Unless they, again, are trying to go into that Abathur Illidan style composition we saw before.
Yeah, definitely would not be surprised if Uther was the ban here. Thinking about it quite a bit, though. Hovering the Gul'dan. Red Canids has shown that they do like the Gul'dan. I believe they've played it several times now.
Yeah, it's certainly been a standout choice for them compared to most of the teams, I would say.
Yeah. For the Red Canids, I would like to see some, you know, like, go with what's been working for you. Every time they were so close to taking the game, they had that variant blow-up composition. So hopefully they go for that later on in the game. Opening with the first pick Genji, very solid.
This is different from them, right? Going straight into the Genji. Typically, we've been seeing the Dahaka more often from them, and I wouldn't have mind to see the Dahaka here, especially on Sky Temple, but they're looking to change up their gameplay.
There's so much that Dignitas can do. We see the Abathur and Uther, which leads to a potential gray main Illidan. Basically anything you want to throw out there. Uther obviously does well to also counter Genji if he comes in. You can get the stuns in. So first part of their draft, exactly what Dignitas wants.
Abathur Uther. So Dignitas, yes, they highly value Uther for the reasons that we've mentioned before in the past. They get Abathur on this battleground, which is almost a staple on Sky Temple as of late in Europe. They are loving their 1 and 2 picks, and I'm hoping that the Red Canids actually move into some aggressive engage at some point on the second and third side, but at the same time, that's an Uther on the opposing side.
So surely, if there's an Aberron on the other side, as Red Canids here, you take Greymane and then ban Illidan. Is that the play later on down the line, or?
Yeah, I think that's gotta be going through your head right now as the Red Canids. The Illidan play from yesterday was very impressive. Probably worried about that. Taking the Greymane material. They have a very solid dive comp with, you know, no Guardian of Ancient King procs as of yet, so pretty solid draft from them.
Yeah, draft is actually looking really pretty here. Dignitas thinking about what they want to get rid of. At this point, do you just ban out the Malfurion to get rid of the other support that could be on the battlefield?
I do like the Malfurion ban.
I'm just... Dignitas is going to force Canids into something. And, you know, we've seen Tyrael, we've seen Varian. I wonder if that's a composition they would feel. Obviously, you know, you could have that blow-up potential with Greymane if you want to try and single out a target, but then you run into the possibility of a D-shield. So it depends. You know, we talk about short cooldowns versus long cooldowns. Those are two very short cooldowns if you were to go into that route for Red Canids.
The Haka or Varian also good bans that I would consider. They're really thinking about this next ban here.
Last second.
Oh, okay.
The Gazlo ban. There was. I think they forgot they were running out of time.
I think that might have randomed.
Yeah.
So at least the Illidan ban came in. We called that bit.
Yeah, Illidan ban came in, so now we get to see what Dignitas is going to run into. They go for the Dahaka. What's going to be that Abathur Ultimate Evolution clone?
I mean, I want to only give it a little bit of context. It seemed that they were deliberating, like trying to deal with globals in that ban, but
that was not intended to be like a BM ban or anything.
time down, target ban against Trixler. Jay, how continue?
Worth.
Well, we still got to have a clone target. We still got to have that main tank, Tychus.
Yeah.
Tychus doesn't seem like the likely clone target, but...
I mean, it was back in the alpha, but...
That's for entirely different reasons.
It was back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not terrible because Snitch will be on Abathur. Snitch is their primary Tychus player unless they run a composition like that. So they're very flexible between their Tychus player, between Mene and Snitch. So when you clone that target, at least you have a very skilled hand at that clone.
Yeah, and then they only had a few options to really choose from as well. You know, the Tychus was up, the Li Ming. Not that many good ranged auto attackers left for them to choose. The Tychus is a lot tankier than most of the other options, which could be a good idea considering how dive-heavy Red Canids are going.
Fostad and Lucio actually gets locked in. Lucio we have not seen at all.
One game.
One game.
I think it was L5. Or no, MVP Black on day one.
Oh, yeah.
Against Roll20.
Yeah.
And they lost.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one went well, didn't it?
Yes.
I remember that one. The 22-0.
Stitches as the final pickup here for Dignitas. So we have Dahaka, Stitches for the engage, and Tychus as the clone target.
It's pretty solid draft overall, I'd say. I like Dig's draft. They still kind of remind me of Dig. They have the follow-up for the Stitches. Pretty solid drafts.
I just, the Lucio pick, you know, obviously you're playing to the global. You can match globals with the Haka. You know, there's not a huge threat towards Falstad in terms of rotations, things like that. So maybe you can get some type of control off that, but...
The only thing I don't want is that... This sounds actually really weird, but I don't know if it speaks to the mentality of a player. Like, when that Gazlo ban came in, and I know this sounds really weird, but I hope Red Canids don't react in any kind of adverse way to that happening, thinking it was like... some weird situation, to try and get in their heads or something.
I took a look over. Their faces were pretty much the same as when we saw them during the pregame.
Didn't change.
Didn't change.
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but it didn't change.
Yeah, maybe not a good thing.
Well, I personally hope they come out of their deflated state and really show up for this game. I think their first part of the draft was actually very clever. You know, taking the Greymane and the Tyrael, banning out the Illidan, taking away all those options that you would normally see in this meta that we've currently seen from Dignitas and kind of putting him in a weird spot. The answer here with the Tigers and Stitches does work out. This is a JPL special. Can they burn down targets? It's a possibility, and I think Red Canids have options if things don't shape out. Giant Killer falls out at 13. Mighty Gus get away from fights. It's just a matter of not losing the early game. Can they get through that, especially with an Abathur being on the opposing side? I think they have options to do so.
It's time for what you know is coming.
Dignitas to win, even though I just had that spiel, and I believe, and my heart's all here and everything, but my brain is currently picking Dignitas.
Okay.
In a full breakdown state, I think Red Canids has a very justifiable draft that could work in a lot of circumstances. However, they are going up against Dignitas, and I just feel that Dignitas has way too much of what they want, and I'm going with Dignitas.
Yeah, for me, I really wanted to see that variant again. You know, with the first 3 picks they had with the Greymane, the Tyrael, and the Genji, variant plus a healer would have been a composition that might have won my vote over for Red Canids, but instead they went with the Falstad and the Lucio. These are 2 picks that are considered very underpowered this meta, and you don't see them for a reason, so have to go with Dignitas.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Let's check in with chat to see how you've predicted at home here for this final series of the day. Red Canids leading the charge.
Good old chat.
Dignitas is becoming the heel, my friends, it seems. But there we go. That is going to be game number 1 on the way here between Dignitas and Red Canids. Let's head over to the caster's desk.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. Yes, it is going to be our game number 1 between Dignitas and Red Canids, and we are loading in to Sky Temple.
And here we are in the blue on the left, Thatcher. It's going to be Team Dignitas. 35% favorite, according to the chat. It's going to be Snitch on Abathur, Bakery on Uther. It's Zelia on Dahaka, Mene on Tychus, and JPL on Stitches.
And from the Latin America region, it is Red Canids with Typhex on Genji, Jayshreet on Greymane, Hamtaro on Tyrael, Lethokurus on Falstad, and Vieira on Lucio. And I have butchered those names.
Well. I don't know how Red Canids is going to be doing this without Gazlo, but they're going to have to try. Hot diggity, darn it.
Well, that is a first blood going over to Dignitas in under 20 seconds, and they're looking for a second, chasing down the Lucio, but he's moving back in. They're trying to turn it onto Maida, hoisted upon his own petard here, but they turn it round onto Typhex, who leaps for freedom and gets pulled back in. Lucio goes down too. 3 kills in just under 40 seconds.
Typhex, isn't it normally the variant player?
I think so.
Yeah. So he's on Genji. A bit of a role swapping going here. Hamtaro is going to be on Tyrael. Great start for Team Dignitas so far. They have 3 takedowns already turned around on that. Tychus, kill, death. That was about to happen. Bakery there to save his buddy. Mene just in time, and a tower down already. Now for some win rate statistics, by the way. Lucio in this tournament, Mid-Season Brawl, is 0-1. Greymane is sitting at around 36% win rate with a really high contest rate. Tyrael, he's a little bit below 50%, but he's pretty okay, around 45% win rate.
Yeah, and there's one hero who has an exceptionally high win rate, and that is Abathur, right?
Yeah. He's 12-1. From the contested heroes with more than 5 picks, Abathur is the absolute supreme, 92% win rate, 12-1. Just a fantastic win rate there. And, well, let's see how it goes here. Everyone is coming to this party. 5 versus 4 with Abathur hat. Typhex gets out just in time.
Yep, dropped very low, and that Lucio healing is going to take far too long to heal him up. He's running back to a fountain, which doesn't exist in mid lane anymore. So he has to go all the way back to his tier 2s to proc some health.
Team Dignitas playing it really nicely. Oh, another hook hit. Hammer of Justice. Lucio out of the house, getting destroyed here.
Hamtaro was moving into the backline to attempt to get Bakery. But Bakery, too tough there. Too much health remaining. Goes back, grabs some mana. They move back in. They've given up a lot of shots, but they managed to get a 2-level lead. And that turns into yet another kill. 5 kills to 0. Looking for a Maida chasing down. That is going to be our Western All-Stars player Maida. Going to be happening at the playoffs.
JPL tanking the 4 shots here. They're going to go for extra value. Takedowns themselves are nice, and there's a very solid experience lead, but you always want to get a little bit more out of it when you've got more people on the field. And Dignitas understands this like no other. For the rest, the Haka Azealia, he is doing more laser shots at the top.
He is, but in comes Jayshree, attempting to push him off, and Xaylia does in fact pull back, does not want to get himself caught out. With JPL coming in, though, Genji going very aggressive, immediately gets dragged. The prediction by Xaylia to catch him,
the
and
hook!
down he goes thanks to that hook.
Nice spray game as well by JPL. Everything on point, very accurate. With that sexy bikini stitches skin.
Yeah, the best one in my opinion. I like the blue-haired one. It's cool, although there are new ones coming and those look cool.
The sound hitting with that bucket is just terrifying.
Donk. I think that's the second most satisfying auto attack sound, right behind the Circus Greymane stick hitting people in melee.
Top hat Greymane, so good.
Absolutely. So for now, Dignitas moving in, taking their own bruiser cap. The exact same response from RED Canids on their own side, as their top lane 4 does take a couple shots from that final temple in the top lane.
Now, Dutcher, in all seriousness, Team Dignitas needs this victory.
They do.
Although they banned Gazlo, we heard a little bit of the comms here. It was not intended. They were kind of letting it time out. There was not enough time, and there was just a kind of random click or whatever. But they were meaning to take that one seriously as far as I know. But Team Dignitas needs this one. They are currently dead even on points with L5. And L5 is going to be facing Tempo Storm, who looked a little bit stronger today than in some of their games. That means that if Dignitas wants to be top 2 for this group stage, which puts them in winner bracket, which is very good, they need to win 2-0 because L5 might 2-0 Tempo Storm. Now, of course, if they equal each other's score, Dignitas and L5, they're going to play a tiebreaker because they were 1-1 with each other. They're going to have the same points, and that will be tomorrow after the first 4 rounds. So Dignitas is playing for reals here, for keeps. And RED Canids, they could get their first map win of the tournament. Also, a very nice feeling when you come all the way to Sweden. You play a lot of games, you learn a lot, sure. You measure yourself with the world competition, that's great. But at the same time, they would love to snipe one map off of Team Dignitas here. Let's see if they can.
Would love to. And there is a move here which I really like from Bakery here, actually taking the cleanse talent on Uther, the Hand of Protection. There's no stuns outside of maybe Judgment coming in from RED Canids, and yet we still see people taking Guardian of the Ancient Kings at level 7. This talent from Bakery makes much more sense because if they do pick a stun, it's still effective, and if not, it works against the slows from Tyrael and Falstad.
Exactly. Of course, there is a boss stun here. It's not quite as egregious of a mistake as we would have seen on Towers of Doom earlier today, where there literally was not a single silencer, stun, or root, and there wasn't a boss stun. At least here, boss stun could be mitigated by Guardian of Ancient Kings.
Yep.
But let's face it, finally we don't have that talent when it cannot be procced. Good move. Can remove some slows, Bakery. Now, this could be game moment. I know it's 6 minutes, but this is how Dignitas ended the game. They get a pick.
They
Two
do,
picks.
2 picks. They take down the Lucio as well. Tyrael trying to poke in with Eldurin's Might. Not the highest damage ability in the world. Odin is already up. The boss with half health as the keep falls. Hook doesn't land. So the spawn timers are very low. With the boss at half health, this would be a risky all-in by Dignitas, but they're still trying. Like you said, no heroics. They might hit if RED Canids are able to pick up at least 1 kill. Snitch dropping low, able to move around though, attempting to dodge the damage.
Latam, RED Canids have played a lot of good games, a lot of very close games. Sometimes they were leading by a big margin, but not this one. RED Canids is going to go down to get their level 10, but the core goes down. Dignitas in an exhilarating 6 minutes and 52-second victory for the 1-0.
I think that might be the new HGC record. I think we broke it earlier, right?
Wasn't it 6:52 as well?
I think it was. I think we tied the HGC record. We're still not the fastest ever pro game, but that was quick.
Team Dignitas with not a shred of mercy, not a shred of hesitation. Clinical.
Yeah.
Sky Temple 101. Every move pure, every hook accurate, the follow-up perfect, and RED Canids destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fair on them. Dignitas do need these points. This is not a cruel move by Dignitas. This is a sensible move. They're in a tournament to win. But to talk about that win even more, we're going to head over to our analyst concave.
That's right, simple and clean. Therefore, Dignitas in game number 1, and overall, very well executed.
Yeah, there's a reason why JPL is one of the best stitches in the game. I mean, he lands hooks all day, every day, and it gets compounded by the fact that Zelia is there every single time, no matter which hero he's on. Therefore, a drag here in this particular case. In the past, we've even seen Ragnaros, Sophia smashes to follow up. These two just work together well.
Are there things that you think that RED Canids could have tightened up there in that game, Jay Howe?
Prior to the draft, Lucio just in a bad spot, I think, right now compared to some of the other options that they had available. It just seems like their execution, it seems like maybe mentally they took a hit in that last series because they just were not on point, I don't think, that game.
Seems like Team Dignitas are deliberating whether or not that was faster than the previous game, as Bakery here highlighted. And I think it was. He said that I overheard him because I couldn't remember what the time was, and he was saying it's 7:37. So thank you very much, Bakery, for the hosting assistance. So it was 6:50 some, I believe, that one. Very, very swift and very, very clinical.
Yeah, for these maps, it just looks like Dig understands how to snowball early game a bit better. They played the Shrine phase a little bit better. They understand how to abuse their Merc pressure a little bit better. Win the first Shrine phase, win their second Shrine phase, you know, abuse the Soaking and Merc in between, and then they do the boss with a 2-level lead in the game.
Having a bit of a hard time here on Valej, Jay Shorty.
I don't know why you would put that as his top hero, but...
I'm pretty sure, well, yeah, actually, now that since they've won no maps here, it's a bit unfortunate for them.
What do you think about Typhex switching from Warrior to Assassin there, playing the Genji instead?
Maybe wanting to be more of a playmaker hero, but the thing is, he is the one setting up the plays for his team. So if you don't have that variant or that, you know, tank that can start the plays, doesn't matter if you're on a playmaker hero. There's no plays to be had.
Our next map is going to be in Infernal Shrines, but before we get on to that, I just want to point out that if you haven't been watching every single day, every single match and things like that, yes, currently RED Canids are 0-9, but that's by no means reflects their performance. They have stood toe-to-toe with a lot of the teams here in the games.
It is true.